Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Ndimane Rabori, and I am the founder of Youth Evolve. It's good to be back. It's been a very interesting day. We've learned so much, and I hope you guys have learned with us through today. So this particular session is just a fireside chat. We just want to have a chat with passionate people. This is a celebration of builders, the ones who turn passion into platforms and ideas into actions. Each of our guests today, they bring a unique lived experience and a visionary thinking. So I'm not going to introduce them, right? Because these people are serious people and I want themselves, I'm inviting them to tell you who they are in their own words. So I'm going to invite all of them in the room, and I'm not sure which format, but I'll just like call them by name because it's a few of them, and then they'll just tell you who they are, what they do, what they're passionate about, which organization do they represent, if they're representing any. So yeah, I will now put everyone in the stage. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
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 How are you? I omitted someone. I omitted someone. Oh, sorry, Deborah. Oh, we have
We're
a
good.
full
We're
house
good. We're
today.
good. And how?
I'm great, thank you. Guys, welcome to this fireside chat. I just want us to have a chat about your passions. I want you to inspire other young people who are watching and looking and seeing. And we actually have a special guest today. I wouldn't want not to introduce that special guest. Someone who actually named this conference what it is, Young African and Futuristic. I didn't name this conference this name. We have Ronald. So Ronald Nechongore is the founder of Mukapu. He is not just any speaker, as I said, he's one who has a vision and is one behind the name Young, African, and Futuristic. I think it would be fit for him to actually start and tell us what was going on with why Young African and Futuristic, because it's been 4 years, not 4 years, but it's been the fourth edition because we skipped a year. But this is our fourth edition of Young African and Futuristic. And over the years, we've met so many young people, and this has been a very productive and fruitful platform for young people in Africa. So, Ronald.
Hi everyone. I actually thought I won't be the first to speak or to introduce myself. But starting off the inception of Young African and Futuristic was just something that I bet a lot of African people, your young people, it's something that they hold dear or they envision, in their own end. And we actually thought perhaps this would be a befitting name to actually name a conference or any initiative that really that has been envisioned to actually be impactful. And also looking at where we are, we actually thought it's a befitting name, and then it just came naturally. I guess when you're creative, you just look into the stuff that you need, the things that you do in your own end, and then the challenges that you're actually trying to solve, and then the integration of all those things. It's actually what coined, what became bits and pieces of what coined the name Young African and Futuristic. Yeah, I mean, that's how we actually just got to name it. It was not something that I personally named. It was a collective of ideas within that specific space, and then and then we came up with that.
Yeah, definitely. So, Buchiro, can you just now introduce who you are? Tell us what you do. Tell us about your business and your passion. Just share everything. Like, this is the chat. Like, share with us what about you.
Um, I'm Ronald Mechongore. I am a founder and product developer at a company called Mokapu ZA. Mokapu's most transformative purpose management, and we actually trying to do that through food manufacturing food baskets, personalized food baskets, that is. And yeah, and what we actually do is we create a value chain um, that has been actually quite effective, meaning that we've come up with ways that not only include rural-based smallholder farmers, but also rural-based food manufacturers and other developers within that space. And yeah, and since the vision is to actually it's the vision is actually on the food disease management space. So we're actually trying to do a whole lot of work with people in the health sector as well, because we cannot only do it on our own. So the whole vision is actually an integration of a whole lot of fields. And yeah, that is actually basically what we do every day. We go in and we manufacture food purposed for disease management. And then yeah, that's what Mukapu does in a nutshell.
There's no audio.
You're on mute.
Oh, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. So I was saying Doctor will be the one who's going next, because she was on our last session, the previous sessions that we just had now. And some of the things that they were talking about were food systems, and it just correlates very well with what Ronald has mentioned. But we also just want to know what Doctor does and her passions and all of that. And yeah, over to you, Doctor.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Azwi Hangwisi, meaning unforgettable. Azwi Hangwisi Judith Mpidi. Well, I'm the founder of Human Police, Policing Human. I'm sure you're wondering what kind of name is that. I feel it's what I am. I am a human policing other human beings. Why? To retain who we are, what we are, social justice, law and order. I grew up from Gogobore. I come from Gogobore village. So I grew up in a place where it was extremely peaceful. Crime was like something so rare. I also grew up in Utokwa village. Crime was so rare. You see, so then when I come this side to Pretoria, Gauteng, and then I realized that some crime was it's like it was everywhere, and then it was a completely different lifestyle from me. So now I thought to myself in 2015, when I passed my master's degree in policy, I decided that okay, I've got this fire in me. I felt like I wanted to fix things, like I wanted to fix the world. No, don't do that. You can't do that. Crime. You can because I felt like my background was being attacked. Like, oh no, we only feel safe when you are at home in Venda. I only feel safe when I'm at my grandma's place in Utokwa and everything. So I thought to myself that I am going to create a company that is human police policing human, also acknowledging the police officials who have taken the profession as police officials, that those people are also human. They are policing other human beings within the legislative framework. So now, the mission of this company, it was just to make sure that to gather intelligence based on specific research to deliver in-depth knowledge regarding to everything that's happening around the world, because life is changing. And the vision was just to make sure that I foster crime awareness, build strategies and partnerships across society, like what we're doing now, promote mutual understanding between law enforcement and communication through South African communities. So the goal was to make sure that I would like to educate the public on the necessity of collective action against crime to discourage criminal behavior through inclusive and evidence-based approach. So human police, policing human, it's all about that. No, we don't have to be like that. Actually, our life, we can't live without feeling safe and secured in our lives. So human police, policing human has a digital head office. It's our website where you will find the home, the blog, the services, which includes crime research, consulting, personalized awareness workshops, awareness campaigns, and community outreach, and private tutoring for struggling academics, maybe research tutoring. So I've also developed another page called the Developmental Hub, where it is hosted by Moodle and created personal growth course that is free, it's online, and thriving in a workplace is free, it's online. Arts and reads, it's also free, it's online, because we're still waiting for accreditation through CETAS. And then there are also classrooms. These classrooms, they include a family policing, because each and every one of us, when we are sitting here, you would like to know where your child is, where your siblings is, where your mother is, where your loved ones. Family policing starts from home, where you need to know each and every moment where your family members are. And then there is also economic crime crime classroom. Economic crimes, they crumble each and every little thing. When you commit an economic crime, it does not only affect someone else, just one little person's pocket. No, that person has families or relatives and everyone who depends on them. So such crimes affect them. And there is technological crimes as well. There is also human contact crimes. Technological crimes include cyberbullying, hacking, AI crimes, and revenge porn, things like that. Human contact crimes is GBV, rape, murder, and harmful and human trafficking and so forth. We also have our library. We also have online store. We've got careers, and we also have tenders and donations where we're looking for donations. Recently, we've developed the individual national crime surveys. You ask yourself, maybe this is the SAPS's job. Actually, they do collect, and South African statistics, they do collect from household and other places. This one is individual. I have created surveys that are related to South African problems. And I would like to find out what are South Africans thinking and feeling about such crimes. And the topics that are covered there on the surveys, it's the extent of the fears. We would like to find out the fears that South Africans have, the everyday fears that they have. And as South African parents, we also want to find out, South African parents, how do you feel about the safety of your kids? We also want to understand from South African perspective, perception on what kind of good community policing, what does it mean for them? What is it? And also South African youth initiative on crime research, workplace crime, South African employer and employees perspective, people versus machines, understanding the South African everyday fears in high-tech world that we're living in now, and green strategies to reduce crime in impoverished areas. So now those are the data that we're collecting as well. And we also have the evidence vault. We would like to report on information that we found from the public. And then you'll find that on that particular section. We also have the justice frequencies. This is our media room where some of these sessions, you're going to find them there. We're going to upload them there. So we believe that combining academic precision with citizen involvement and delivering digital first solutions in crime awareness, prevention, and social transformation, and work across disciplines, law enforcement, public health, technology, education, and community development. And then our work is mostly data driven. We engage with people. What's happening in your life that is related to mission and vision of human police, policing human. And then we get to let the government or the people who are in charge to know what is it that's happening in your life. You see? Thank you.
You're on mute again.
You're on mute, but I guess
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hi, Deborah.
Hi. You're on mute, but I guess I'm the one going. So
Yes,
good morning.
yes. Can you hear me
Good
though now?
Depending on where you're from, I'm Deborah Okumu from Kenya. Deborah Anyango Okumu. Anyango Okumu is the name of a girl from the lakeside of Kenya. So for today, I represent Black Coffee Network. Professionally, I'm a criminologist, but for Black Coffee Network, I work as a monitoring and evaluation officer. So I'm here to represent my boss. So Black Coffee is basically a Pan-African youth-led, youth-managed network. It's a network of young people in Nakuru, which is in Kenya. So Black Coffee basically got its roots from a group of friends who are just sitting down and having a chat, discussing on matters that affect young people. And from the issues that they got from the discussions, they decided that they should form actually a network whereby young people can come, discuss, lobby, and advocate for the matters that affect them. So Black Coffee started way back in 2017. It has over time engaged young people, whereby through lobby and advocacy, it has advocated for the rights and the rights of young people, using mainly strategies such as capacity building those young people for action, building a movement of young people who are able to lobby and advocate for their rights. And also it has done issues to do with budget advocacy, so budget increment for the same issues that affect young people. Also just policy advocacy, whereby we look at policies that affect young people, how if those policies are being implemented and how those policies are being implemented, and also how they're being formulated. And then we also major on skill development, whereby young people have skills. So how can their skills be developed? How can they harness their skills such that they're able to earn from their skills? At the same time, we give linkages to young people. So maybe if a young person is an artist and they need maybe somewhere where they could be talking about their art, or they could be showcasing their art, give the same linkages. And also give safe space model, whereby young people are able to have a safe space discussion on matters affecting them. So at the same time, we have a space where young people can come, interact, talk to other young people on matters affecting them, where they can also come and get solutions to their problems. And also we do wellness and self-care for young people. A lot of mental health factors affecting young people, especially here in Kenya, especially in the informal settlements. So those are the areas that we target when we're looking at advocating for the rights of young people. So basically that is Black Coffee in a nutshell. I'll take it back to you.
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me now? Am I not on
Yes,
mute?
we can
All
hear
right.
you.
I'm so used to be on the behind the scenes. So now it's, I don't know, now I have to unmute and all of this. So most of the time I'm the one who's in behind the scenes with most of the stuff that we do online here. So that's why. So maybe when I put the camera on you, then it means you are next. So the one I'm going to put a camera on is next.
Okay.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. And hi to everyone. So my name is Carol Chabani. I am from Limpopo in Malamulele. So today I'll be speaking about our NPO called Iakanini Youth Development. So within this NPO, we've actually started a project which is called the Reading Club. So this is not an ordinary reading club that everybody knows. So this is an intervention that we have come up with because of the literacy crisis that we actually have in South Africa. So if you didn't know, or if you knew, we had an assessment that was done by the Progress in International Reading Strategy in 2021, where South Africa actually came out last out of 50 countries that we participated with. And this was targeted for grade 4 learners. What does this mean? So this means that about 81% of South African grade 4 learners cannot read or read for meaning. And this does not just end in grade 4, it just continues into the other grades. So what we do within our reading club, young people in my community and I actually started to think about ways in which we can actually help these learners. And we started the reading club, which is targeting grade 3 learners. So this is our third year doing it. In the year before last, when we started, we actually had about 126 learners from grade 3. That was in one school called Mpakati Primary School. So that was where we actually piloted this project. Within that year, we actually had a 99.9% pass rate for our grade 3 learners, where the principals and teachers were like, you guys really did great because we've never really seen our kids pass like this. The following year, which was last year, we actually had 99 kids that we were teaching. We got 100% pass rates. And this year, we have our third cohort, and we're looking forward to actually doing great as well. So yeah, that's basically what I do.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Slindile, get ready. Okay.
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Celine Dile Dlamini, and I work at Youth Evolve. I'm actually a volunteer, and my job title is Empowerment Pioneer, Youth Empowerment Pioneer. And I've been there for it's almost 6 months now. Yeah, and so what we do at Youth Evolve, as we all know, is that we do projects, meaningful projects for the youth to empower, to encourage, as well as to solve our unemployment rate in South Africa. What is it that we can do as Youth Evolve? So under Youth Evolve, I have a project called Bafo Asringe, which is Brother Let's Talk. And with this project, what we are saying is, what about our boy children? We are always doing projects towards girl child, take a girl child to school day and all those projects. But now we want to shift and focus on our boys, because most cases of GBV and all those school reports, they mainly from our boy children, and that's what we want to combat in terms of saying, look, if we fix our boys and they grow up as good men, then we won't be having all these social issues and all of that. So it's going to kickstart sometime, I think, this year, October, November, somewhere there. So that's me. And I'm also passionate about community development projects, campaigns. So anything that's to raise awareness on social ills, to fight against social ills, that's me. That's where I come in. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, everyone. I think also this is my time to talk about myself as well. As you guys know, I'm the founder of Youth Evolve. Basically, I don't want to talk a lot about what we do at Youth Evolve. Lindsay has explained what we do at Youth Evolve, but what I'm passionate about mostly is youth empowerment. It's seeing young people being able to have the correct information. And this is one way to do that. We still have a long way to go, because doing a conference like this online, there's an issue of the people that we actually want to get to do not have access to this kind of platforms. So that is my concern at most of the time, that we want to be, we actually, our constituents are young people from the rural areas and township areas, areas that are not usually well targeted by everyone and everything. So most of those young people, they tend to not know anything outside their reality. I'm one of them. I grew up in a semi-rural area. It was not necessarily like deep rural, but it was rural. A lot of things I learned when I went to university, and it made me think when I went back home after finishing my first undergrad, to say, what is it that I can do with what I've learned at the university? And Youth Evolve was what we came up with. And the main aim was for high school. Though it's not that easy to do work like this when you don't necessarily have the funds or the means or the resources. So it's always very tricky, very tricky. Slindile would attest, because she has seen how tricky the situations get. So it gets very tricky, but because it's a passion that comes from the heart, it's always possible that whatever that we plan and say we are going to do Young African in futuristic, it will happen as it's happening now. So I just want us to have, a conversation around our different passions. Some of us have non-profit organizations and the struggle that comes with having non-profit organizations. Some, like Ronald, run a business, at the same time, a business that has a meaningful contribution to the society, because they're not just making food, but food to solve a problem that we're already facing as a society, as Africa. So I just want us to have, conversations around our passion, and maybe encourage each other on how we could actually do some of the things, and how we actually get some of the things done. I think the first question that would probably would then go to Ronald. I think a little bit more about the business, how it came about. A lot of times I just want to go back to a time and how Youth Evolve was built. When I was in high school, we used to have motivation speakers that would come to our school, and this motivation speakers, they would come and they will be like, I worked so hard. I used a candle to study, and now you see I'm driving a Mercedes Benz. And it's like a very inspiring at that moment, but it's very short inspiring, because they never get to how they did it. And I think that is usually a challenge when it comes to us African people. We never share to each other how we actually did it. So I don't know if you mind, Ronald, to just share about your business, your background, how it started, and how you were able to do it, because we understand, as someone coming from a rural area, you probably didn't have enough even information on how to open a business. So how did you get that information? Someone probably is looking and watching and thinking, how do I get my business on the ground? How do I get funding? I think that is the most important thing. Like, how do I get people to actually believe that this is a very sustainable business that is worth funding?
Thank you so much. But your question, it's actually quite broad, and it's gonna take a very long time for me to really cover all the aspects of the question. But to start it off, how we actually started our business was through, we started with the problem first. So it wasn't something that we actually sat and say we want to start a business. For us, it started off with the challenge. And in my case, it was actually discovering that my grandmother had type 2 diabetes, and she has had it for, I think, ever since we were born. She has always had it, but we didn't know, because when we grew up, it was just like one of those things where she had her own special type of sugars, sugar alternates that she was using, and we didn't understand what those were at the time. We just thought, okay, these are probably old people's things. And then, and through the experience that we have acquired in our own professional lives, then we're actually able to identify. It actually started off with just finding on about some of the complications that when you have type 2 diabetes for a very long time, then you start to show those complications. And in my grandmother's case, it was hair teetering. And then we actually worked our way from the complication to finding the root cause of what that was. And then solving that challenge was actually quite an impossible one, that we still are in our quest to actually really solve that. But how we actually break down that challenge into, like, we actually broke it down into like 10 steps. And we started off with one, which was, how do we use our minimal resources to actually start, or in our attempt to solve this problem. And then in our case, where I'm actually from, it's a place where people depend on smallhold farming, which means that this is like almost each and every household has a smaller piece of land or a backyard where they actually farm, and they actually totally depend on that. So we actually started by collecting the leftovers from farmers when they harvest to sell, and then we developed our first product. And a whole lot of stuff we didn't know, like a product needs to be properly developed. We didn't know that a product needs to be tested. We didn't know that a product needs sensory evaluation. We didn't know any of those things. In our heads and in our minds, all we had was that we have a challenge, and then we need to solve that challenge. The resources didn't matter at that specific point. We were just like, in our case, we have access to raw materials, which was leftover food from farmers. And then the second thing was that, we're at a place where the challenge that we're trying to solve, it's something, it will take a lifetime to solve, because you're in a rural area which only has one clinic. Two, the clinic probably had like, 4 or 5 staff members. 3, you have inadequate infrastructure. 5, you don't have access to all the medications. So there's one of the grades that says, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. So we actually took that to heart and literal, and we're like, we're actually gonna just come up with small products that yet significant, that people can actually use to start managing whatever disease that they have. And then, and that's basically how we actually started. And when we did that for my grandmother, people actually saw how effective the products were. And then that's how, through them actually asking products for themselves, that's when we realized that for us to actually really serve everyone who's asking, people need to pay for it. And people paid for it based on the fact that they actually saw how impactful the products were. And then, basically that's how it started. So we registered our business a year later after our first product. And then that's when we started, finding out about all the other aspects of making a business formal, like going to do proper registration of the business, the bank accounts, your tax registration, and then it went to the product where. So what actually helped us in terms of understanding more aspects of the product was actually finding mentors within the food space. But in our case, because we were using food to solve a health problem, and in our professional lives, we were never health professionals, and we're never food producers. So which means that we actually tried the solution that we find to solve the challenge that we're trying to solve. It involves two different industries that none of us were in. So in our attempt to actually do that and to fully understand those industries, we went to those two industries, and then we find mentors within those spaces, and then they're the ones that actually really helped us to actually put everything together. So basically, all we had was a vision, still intact with the vision, and then we decided to find tools. So basically, we didn't really start off with money. Money came after when we had to expand, or when we had to produce more products. It started off with connecting, the dots, or finding people within the spaces that we felt like our solution involves. So we got those people, and then they helped us to put together a team. And then a funny story, it's when we actually didn't know it was called sensory evaluation. So what we did was, to test our products, we actually hosted camps. I think in a space of 6 months, I think we hosted like around 8 camps. And then we would feed people who would come to the camps those products, and each and every camp people would give us feedback, and that's how we actually improved our product, until I think around the 7th camp, where people were like, this is actually good, and then that's how we actually found out what we actually did. It's called sensory evaluation, where you have to take your product to a specific space, and then so that people can test it out, and then this is outside the lab, and then so that's how we actually solve the product challenge as well. So I think just in my attempt to answer your question, I think that's it on our end.
Thank you so much. I think that is very informative. You had a problem and you needed a solution. You were not trying to start a business, but in that course, you learned that this is actually can be a business. And I think it all starts with a problem. We all have a problem that we are trying to solve. And I think some of you mentioned some of the problems that you're trying to solve, and I think we could go into details. For me, it was more of a personal thing when I started Youth Evolve. High school for me was really not a good experience for me. I transitioned from a school that was private school to a public school. So we were like 20 in the private school when I was doing primary, and to a public school where we were about like 80 in a class. So from that moment, it was so blurry, because now I'm used to a teacher giving you special attention. But now here, it's not possible, even though a teacher wants to give you special attention, that they will give you special attention. And for me, I just became the middle. I was in the middle, sort of. The ones who don't fail, but at the same time, they're not the highest achiever, but like it's just in the middle. So I became one of those, the forgotten ones, the middle ones, who no one actually really cares about. And so there were a lot of things that I was going through as well, and I didn't quite understand, only until I left to university, and a lot of other things made sense. And it made sense that I didn't also quite have a lot of information about what I also want to study, and what was then advertised for us to study, and also the information that was given to us about certain things. One of some of the stuff that I'm very passionate about is mental health. I didn't know anything about mental health until only I went out of where I was born, or rather university. And that's where I started to learn, there's something called depression. Well, people talk about depression, I'm depressed and all of those things, but there isn't much understanding of what that means. But me now going to study then made a huge difference for me to understand. When they say depression, this is what depression means. When a person is depressed, this is how you see a depressed person. And I saw that a lot in people that I grew up with around, parents, grandparents, but it's nothing that we actually had terms for. We didn't really uh, put it as like depression, but you could see this person is going through certain things, but also you can't diagnose them if you're not qualified to do that. So those were also some of the things I didn't understand. So the problem that I was trying to solve is that a lot of young people that I grew up with tend to see their world and not see beyond that world. Because you find that a person grew up there, they went to school there, then they want to get married. Um, that's over. So there is no beyond my environment. There's no beyond this village that I'm living in. And I wanted to change that and say, young people, we need to be independent thinkers and think outside and beyond our where we are right now. And so there's a world outside that exists, and that world that exists needs you to understand how it works. So for you to understand how it works, you need to have the information. So I was one of those when I started the NPO. I didn't focus a lot on giving people material things. It was more of information. And I understood that giving people information is what will set them free. How? When you show someone, okay, you can apply a bursary here, or you can do this, or you can do that, and they use that information to actually uh, uh, apply bursaries. Like our first actual event that we had, I always say the story because it's really like so personal and very close to my heart, because it's like literally the first event that we had. We had a child who, we had many kids actually, not only that particular child, but it's the only one that I still had direct contact with and know their direct story. But even there were other kids at that day. But we had high school kids at that day, and one of them was just really outgoing, or rather wanted to know about the law field, how to get into that. And this particular learner at the time had failed grade 11, and coming from a very impoverished background, had not really seen a world outside his his existence. And now in that particular conference, I mean, it was not a conference, it was we had a park situation. We're sitting in the park. So he was asking the speakers, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do that? And we assigned him a mentor. And at that time, we were working with the students at the University of Venda, a university from where I'm from. So we were working with students. So basically, there was nothing that those students will give this person material. Like if he wants food, they wouldn't be able to give him food. But they gave him something beyond just food, because when he needed information, he needed to apply for bursaries. Some of these kids in the rural areas don't know how to go about applying for funding and so forth and so on. They just gave him, well, that particular mentor just gave him information. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. I don't think there was material that that person gave him, but that changed his life, because that information that she shared with him, he was able to use it to his advantage. Right now, this person is employed in one of the top 5 law firms, and has graduated summa cum laude, from failing grade 11, from being an impoverished background, to changing his family life. Now he's building at home. They didn't have proper housing, they're building, and so forth. Now lives are changed. So I believed in a chain reaction, that when you change one life, it changes the other. So I want to know your guys' problems. What is it? Some of you are part of organizations. Why did you decide to say, this is a course I'd like to be part of, like Deborah? Why did you decide that a Black Coffee network is a course that you would like to be? What was the issue? What was that you saw yourself personally in your country or where you are from that made you to say, I want to join this cause? You are mute.
Also,
Yes.
okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
So funny. So I joined Black Coffee through a referral from a friend. So this friend told me about Black Coffee and basically what Black Coffee does, how it started. So this friend told me that Black Coffee actually started from friends having a discussion about an informal discussion about what affects them, and then they decided that those issues were way much serious, and it was not ideal if they were discussing them while just chatting, maybe going for outs while taking alcohol. So they decided that these are discussions that needed sober conversations. So they decided that they're going to have coffee, hence the name Black Coffee, while having these chats. So they started the movement. By then it was not yet registered, so they started a movement that is called now Black Coffee Movement, but now it's Black Coffee Network. So as they were discussing, they realized that those issues are not only issues affecting them, but affecting young people. People started coming for things they call lounges. So lounges are the safe space discussion. And in the discussions, they realized that issues are intersectional, especially with those that affect young people. So I may be a young person. I come from an informal settlement, which means that my economic status is not good and my family background economic status is not good. At the same time, I'm facing peer pressure from friends using drugs, or maybe engaging in sexual activities when I'm not ready. At the same time, I have not gone through higher education. At the same time, I don't have information even about my rights. So through those discussions, they realized that these issues are intersectional, that I could be a young person, but I'm facing multiple issues. So at that time, when my friend was telling me about Black Coffee, I realized that this is my space. This is me. The person that is me. And the person who cannot speak out also is the same as me. They don't have information about these spaces where young people could go, advocate for their rights, and at the same time get economic uplift in the same spaces. So these are spaces that I realized that it's not just a workplace, but a space where I also get to have a safe space. I get to talk about my issues. At the same time, I get to talk about issues that face my friends back in the informal settlements since I come from that area. So basically, joining Black Coffee has made me see that problems, the problems that face young people are gaps that can be addressed, especially when it comes to their health rights, especially when it comes to leadership, just also choosing your leaders, enjoying your rights, like maybe getting bursaries if you're able to access education, at the same time being able to get healthcare from the public healthcare system. So this is a place that has given me information as a person, but has also given me information to be able to advocate for now the rights of people who are back then the formal settlements. Sometimes we even have a chat. We have a group that is called Black Coffee Machinani. So that means that it's Black Coffee, but it's in the informal settlement. So we also get to have the discussions that are held in Black Coffee, but now in the informal settlement. So as I'm talking to my friends, I'm able to give them the right information on how they can be able to get linkages. At the same time, information on how to choose leaders who are for the youth, not against the youth. So kept me going now as a person is that I realized that change does not need people, does not need an audience. Change needs you to be committed. And also, our own experiences are what will make us work for people who are facing the same experiences. So, what made me come to Black Coffee was that, and what actually made me stay was the chance of knowing that I can be able to advocate for people in my community.
That's a very beautiful story. That's a very beautiful story. So there's a problem. The problem needs a solution. Carol, you actually gave us your the problem and say this is what the problem, and the problem was literacy and you wanted to solve that. But where does it come from? Where does that passion? Because I don't believe it's just something you thought about. And yes, we know there's literacy issues and stuff, but
Yeah.
where does it come from?
That's actually such a great question. So the passion for young people honestly came from where I come from. I also come from a village. I would say I come from an average family. So unlike the rest of the people around me, I did have a little bit of, the upper hand. However, having to see that I've now gained skills that can actually help others around me, I decided I think I can just gather other young people who actually have skills, who have graduated, who are sitting at home and unemployed, to say, how can we help the young people in our communities? Because we obviously know that our teachers have a lot of work. They're not able to handle classes with so many children. We have a lot of young unemployed people, and we do need skills, who actually do need skills. So we're like, let's just form something that not only are we helping the young people within our communities, but we're also able to get some skills that we can use to apply for jobs. So yeah, that's basically how this started.
Definitely, definitely. There's a problem and there's always a solution. Doctor, I know it didn't just happen that you went and studied what you studied and you are now so invested in, justice and, policing. Oh, where does it come from?
All right. Thank you so much. As all the speakers have indicated, it started with a problem. Firstly, I had a problem of the fear of crime. Being afraid to be in a different place like Gauteng is very different from my old world, Venda, where I come from. Life there is very slow. Everybody knows everyone. Here in Gauteng, life is very, very fast. So now I wanted to make sure that I embark on awareness campaigns to articulate that crime cannot be like something that we want to get used to. It's costly. Crime is very costly. It costs your sanity, it costs your family members, it costs community, and it costs province and nationally. So that was my first problem. I wanted to feel happy and have and be sane. So now, also because I was a scholar, I was also struggling a lot at school because where I come from in the old world, where I come from, we were taught English in like Chivenda or in Spedi and everything. When I came to tertiary university, that English was completely a different English. It was very difficult. I was failing. Let's say I'll register 6 subjects. Of course, I'll fail through and pass 4 only. You see, so I realized that, and it's not just me. A lot of people, they do register and then they drop out at universities. So that's where the research assistant came from, to help other people who keep wasting money by registering and not finish. I also thought about personalized workshops. Personalized workshop in a workplace. I knew and I've noticed that there's a lot of people who get educated or not educated. They get to be set up, to be fortunate and be set up in a workplace. But you find that when those people are in a workplace, they still want to commit crime. They still want to steal from their colleagues' handbag. They still want to steal from the employer. They still want to. And then I realized that this is bad. It means that if you're an entrepreneur, you'll be afraid to hire people, because those people, the employees, will be stealing from you and your business will go down. So I thought maybe institutions can approach me so that I can be able to teach the people who are employed that being employed is a privilege. You are employed, you get paid the money that you get paid, and then from there you go and spend that money. You don't have to steal from the employer. When you steal from the employer, you lose your job, because the employer will run out of money to pay you and other people who are around there. And also about research in general, I'd like to do everything that is evidence based. Hence, I indicated that I have got the individual national crime survey, where I would like to find out from the people, state from the people, not to be spoken about for on behalf. You understand what I'm saying? Because I know, let's say when it's related to youth, I know that youth are facing crimes that also youth, even though they know about the legislation, there's youth and GBV, there's also AI now. People are you abusing it, they're destroying each other. Youth, people are killing themselves because as a result of something that was posted digitally. And also, we've seen social media where you see school crimes, young people, high school, and substance abuse and psychoactive trends, following people doing things that you do not normally do. Just like our speaker there, Miss Anyando, she indicated that she didn't want to do things like this, which she was not sexually active. I don't want to be pressured to be doing that, and so forth. But we've seen these trends; they do exist, and sometimes we know there are there's times where you find that you go with your friends, they drag you, and then you get sexually assaulted and everything. So right now, I'm embarking on that youth initiative on crime research survey, that project. So I would like to, I'm gathering data, and hopefully I would like to share the report with you when the time comes. And thank you so much.
That
Yeah.
is really beautiful. That is really beautiful. There's a problem and it needs a solution. That's what
Yeah.
I've learned. That's what I've learned today. So I just want, before we close, I just want us to have just a casual conversation. And I did receive a question here. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go through these questions. So the first one is, how do you ensure that momentum we built during dialogues like this actually translate into long-term system change, especially in spaces where youth voices are still seen as secondary? So I'll start. So dialogues, it's something that I learned when I went to university. So the time when I started university, there was the strike in South Africa called Fees Must Fall. So the young people were fighting for fees to, like, for universities to be affordable, for universities to be free, basically. So I was told at home not to really take part in those kind of conversations or those kind of stuff. But because I was very inquisitive and I wanted to learn, I wanted to see, I wanted to see. So I started attending this dialogue. So in this dialogue, they're talking about the colonization of the curriculum and so forth and so on, all this stuff. And a whole lot of the things that were discussed, some of them were like, we're just having these dialogues. But how then do we ensure that this kind of dialogues that we're having actually become a reality? Well, I think it starts from a dialogue. We need to recognize the issues that we are facing. So at that particular time, South African young people recognize the issues that they're facing. Just like right now in South Africa, Deborah, we are celebrating on the 16th, we're celebrating Youth Day. So young people in 1976 fought and say, we don't, like the Black people, they say, we don't want to be oppressed. We want to have equal education systems like, our counterparts. We want to enjoy the same, the same benefits that our counterparts enjoy. So I would rather, they would like to think that it started as a dialogue. People started talking about this as problems and recognize it as problems. So right now we are recognizing problems and we are saying this is what we are facing as young people. Then how do we now bring about those solutions? I think for me, it's more of an impulsive thing because I'm more of, I don't think you can change the world like entirely, but you change the world one person at a time. So for me, it's about that particular person that you've changed their life. Deborah, in your community, that one particular person that you reach out to and you're able to change their life, they change their family life. And ultimately, at some point, they end up leaving the informal settlements. That means that the generation will not see the informal settlements going forward. So I think for us young people, when we're having this kind of conversations, let's rather look at our own spaces. Let's not look maybe on a global scale or on a continental scale, which, yes, we want to change stuff. I want to change stuff in a continental scale. But right now, what is it that is so close to home that I can change? So we need to start looking at that and start solving those problems. Ronald, you looked and say, this is the problem that my grandmother is having. I need to find a solution to help her because I want her well. And it's in a small scale. You were looking to just help your grandmother, but now you managed to create this product that now assists many other people, and many other people are living healthy through one initiative that was just meant to help a particular person. So I think it's a small step, starts a small step, and then it grows and grows and grows. I don't know what you guys think about this particular question that we have been asked. I think I would be interested with Deborah because they have a lot of talks and sessions around stuff. So how do you now ensure that the stuff that you guys talk about actually translate to long-term system change? Yeah, we can hear
So,
you.
so initially for us, it was just discussions, just
Mm,
discussions. And
mm,
we realized the more you complain and don't act, the more problems are going to be problems. The
mm,
more I complain about, I'm a mother, I'm a single mother, I'm a young
mm,
mother from the informal settlement, I don't have a job, my kid will not go to school, I did not go to school, the more I have more problems to complain about. So for
mm,
us, we usually have the discussions. We don't run away from having the talk, the
mm,
dialogues we have. But from the dialogues, we develop the issues that we are going to advocate. So then we
mm,
have a plan. How are we going to do this? Is it that it needs us to engage duty bearers? Is it a problem that actually requires us to go to now the informal settlement and give young people information? Is it a problem
mm,
that requires us to actually go now being the people who are now fighting hard the government? Does it
yeah.
require us to go to the to actually have this issue solved? So our strategy will depend on what the problem is. So we are just not talking at this time. And like you said, you don't change everyone. You can never change everyone.
Mm,
But
mm,
the person you change will change the next person.
mm,
And if it's 100 people, then these 100 people are now going to change 100 more. So you see, impact does not mean that because it was not achieved in a year, in 6 months, it will not be felt. But there are impacts
mm,
that are even after 6 years, after 7 years. That one policy that you wrote maybe 6 years ago is being implemented after 6 years, and it's now affecting positively the community that that policy affects. So for me,
mm,
it's change at a time. At the same time, not just working in the boardroom or in the space and complaining, but actually going out there to act. So act in terms of just work out there. If duty bearers are not in the capacity to do it, then teach them how to do it. If young people are not in the capacity, then give them the capacity to advocate for their rights. So yeah, that is how we do it at Black Coffee. And actually have a short story I'd want to share. There's this youth-friendly center in the informal settlement of a place called Rwanda that was not operational. It was constructed back in 2022 and it has never been operational up to now and in between here we were building our own capacity at the same time just building the capacities of young people and how they can be able to advocate for the government to act. So this
mm,
youth-friendly center, at this point that we realized that, we have the capacity of actually telling young people to petition for that youth-friendly center to be functional. And then we went
mm,
through the process. We actually taught young people on how to petition. Then we took it to the county assembly, and the county assembly embraced actually the ones of the young people that was put in the petition. And I can tell you for a fact that right now it is the young people plus the duty bearers plus us developing a framework of that youth-friendly center to be operational. It was a white elephant. Nobody was working. It was an institution that actually needed to have a nurse, needed to have young people coming for their health services. But I can tell you for a fact that right now, those small steps that we made, we are having now a friendly center that is going to be operational.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. Who else wants to answer this particular question on dialogues? I believe that every idea that we all built here started with us talking about it. So, who else wants to give us their perspective around this?
I just want to say in one sentence, where no one is going to shut us up. You keep on talking until we are free from fear of everything, for us to advance, whether it's in career, whether it's in illness, whether it's in BBV, friendships, anything. Silence does not solve problems. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to answer the question before I go to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so our minds work in increments, right? They work in increments, and they also work. Increments create familiarity, right? And then that means that the more you talk about something, the more it becomes familiar in your mind, right? And the more your mind familiarize itself with that specific thing, then it first becomes a reality within your mind before you can actually even start to talk about it, right? So you can take the idea of let me just say the idea of love, right? It first starts with an idea. You look at it, and then over in your mind, you actually have to like really convince yourself that something looks significant for you to actually start to act on it. So then the same goes with anything else, the same goes with advertising. It's like the more you see something, the more your mind plays tricks on you that maybe perhaps you should try that specific thing, right? So hence you see certain things are played over and over and over again. It's just so they could build up a specific idea within our minds. So it goes with change as well. In our case, like for us to really get to a point, it took us a space of 2 years for us to develop the first product. And that was based on that we actually had to sit and talk about all these things every single day for it to actually really make sense before we could actually take a step and say, okay, now perhaps let's give it a try. So before you take it to the lab or wherever you start something, or before you take it to a classroom, or before you go into, let's take this conference for its sake. Like it takes a specific amount of increments for it to build up. So for us to actually, for our youth to actually go beyond what they are currently recognized, or even for them to be heard, it takes dialogues, right? And dialogue starts from very, very tiny increments. Could be from one person, 2 people, 3 people, from then on until it gets to a point where it makes sense within that specific group for them to say, now let's act on it. If you look on a South African context for the Sharpeville March, everything started off probably in someone's room, someone's mkuku before it went on into schools, it went on to, all these fields where they were meeting, and now it became a revolutionary, let me call it a revolutionary increment, because it's like the results of all this build up, a small step that those people managed to take, and all the ideas of the people here actually started off in that way. So I guess to actually answer the question, and to rather ensure the momentum that we build, that has actually built through dialogues, I guess the only thing that can translate to action and translate to actually youth being recognized nor heard, and actually starts off with a very specific thing, which is an idea or a thought. So I guess for people to really get to that specific point, they just need to make sure they increase the momentum, continue doing that until that way now it makes sense for them to take specific action.
Definitely, definitely. Carol, do you want to have a say on this?
Yes. So I think what I can add in terms of the dialogue is that with every conversation, there's something that you need to take out of it. And whatever you take out of it, either you write it down, but you need to follow up with the people that you were communicating with. So with this, what I'm saying is the people who start the conversations, the people who are like-minded with you are the people you need to follow. Either follow them on their social media pages, ask for their numbers, continue the conversation, and from there you can take your action. So one example that I can give is within our community, we don't have a lot of youth NPOs. You can literally count. But the time we found each other, we spoke about the challenges that we have as youth NPOs. No funding, no support. We don't know what to do, where to go in case we have challenges. And we're like, what can we do? We decided, let's have a structure. Let's come up with systems that can help us as young people. And with those systems, right now, we're able to share all the information that we gather and we're able to support each other every step of the way. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
That this is a very interesting conversation. We all now agreeing that it all starts as a conversation before it becomes something real. So we have to talk about it, and then it becomes. And it takes me to the next question, which like we most of us answered it. It says, "What gives you the courage to actually bypass the fear to start and work daily on your patients?" I think um, um, Ronald was answering this, this specific to say you need to push and like obviously convince that this is it. For me, basically, with the fear of doing, because I don't know, I really had so much fear of high school, right? So now it means high school kids themselves. I fear, but not necessarily fear in the I'm scared of them, but because of the experience that I experienced and stuff. But I wanted to go back to where I felt like things went wrong, and I wanted to go fix it for someone else, not for me specifically, because I'd like to believe that there would have been someone else in the rural area just in the situation that I was in, years back. So I wanted to solve that for that particular person, not necessarily for me. But, when you're solving a problem that you couldn't solve at some point, it does give you some sense of relief. And that's what worked for me. And working daily on my passion, I think it's a lot of work, honestly, when you are working towards something that you don't even see what's happening. Like you can't see where it's going, where it's coming from. Everything is, it's a bit blurry as well. It took a lot of convincing, as Ronald has mentioned, took a lot of me convincing myself that this will happen. Just like hosting this kind of sessions, like Young African and Futuristic and other events that we've hosted at Youth Evolve, it takes a lot of convincing myself. There's a lot of fear because we're coming at a place wherein we don't even have the resources to make these things happen, but we're just hoping that this will come together. So for you guys, what gave you that courage to actually bypass the fear and start working daily on your own passions? Doctor. You're muted, I think. Yeah, you're muted.
All right. Sorry about that. I was saying that I did it because no one could. I had to overcome the fear because no one is going to overcome the fear on my behalf. And I knew I was going to be stuck in the same place. So I needed to save my time. Yes. So that's why every time, whenever I do something and then it fails, I don't give up. I'll be disappointed today. Tomorrow, when I wake up, I repeat the same thing or find the way to improve it until. So that's what I've done with my studies until I push myself to go to get a PhD in criminal justice. And to achieve that particular goal. So now I have not stopped, and there's something that is driving me, that is making me not to stop, to want to campaign that please do not do this. This is disadvantaging the other person next to you, your family, and someone else, because crime is a cycle. And policing is a noble duty. Just like when you are taking care of your family, you are policing them. Family policing is a noble duty. What's the difference within the community and a district and a province and a national? Why can't we just have harmony? I don't think it's too much to ask, you know. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So that's why I don't give up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Deborah?
So what makes me, first of all, I want to say that the fear to start is normal. It's so scary to start, especially if your dreams are big. Your dreams are so big that they scare you, that you're telling yourself, how would I go and hold a government official accountable? That scares you so much that it would be possible that they shoot you to death. So the fear to start is very normal. And when you fear to start, it do a lot of things. One being procrastination. Just have a dream that you have not tapped into. So the fear, what I do to work on my fear to start is actually where I come from. So if I look at the girl that I was at that point and the girl that I am, I really want to do it because I want someone else to be where I am. So I remember one time I was just doing advocacy in Black Coffee, and then my boss is like, but you could be a monitoring and evaluation officer in this organization. You could actually help the program officer programs that really fit the people that face those issues. And at that point, I was like, no, I don't have the capacity to even speak. I could not even speak to people like this. I could not even go to a Zoom. I could not even go to a meeting. So I really thought possible. So each and every time I could go at home and think about, my boss told me that it could be an MLA officer. How is that even possible? I did criminology. I cannot do it. But then the fact that I realized that this is something that I could do for my community, I decided to take that course and take that job. So working daily on your passion really depends on what drives you. If commitment is what you want, then you will work for that passion. If you really want to get a criminal justice for your people, then that is what you will work for. If you want good health for the people around you, then that is what you will work for.
I realize you have the similar passion with Doctor here, so you guys should link up.
I agree.
Doctor, you've been finding people today, eh?
Please contact me. At least Babatalifi already contacted him, because they someone mentioned something about interlinking. I think it was Deborah. We keep on interlinking. We didn't even know that we're going to have anything in common. But when she talks now, I feel like, okay, she's me talking to me, like that.
Just that I think
Yes. That's interesting. Carol?
Okay. So I think the advice that I can give is that when you're thinking of starting, think, why should I start? Why do I want to do what I want to do? What is the impact that I want to bring? Is the impact worth it? Is it not? If I start, what happens? If I don't, then what happens? I think with that will answer the reason why you need to start or not, and will help you think about your fears. Because usually what you fear with starting is actually not what you're going to, for the most part, is actually not what you're going to encounter as you move on. So just really remember the reason why you want to do what you want to do, and just start.
Just start. Just start. Ronald, I know you answered this, but do you have any 2 cents to add to this before we?
Yeah. Okay, so the thing is, people think we are courageous people, right? Okay, we are could be on the natural, but the truth of the matter is that fear is the good thing, right? And it should not, in any way, we should not attempt to eliminate it on the equation or to bypass it. Fear, to me, fear is the fuel, right? Without it, we wouldn't have started. Without us being afraid of specific things, we're never going to start. There's a dear friend of mine who usually says that the reason why they are in the pursuit of whatever they define as success, it's because it's because they are afraid of poverty, right? So which means that bypassing the fear for them would mean that they would tend to be comfortable, right? And then becoming comfortable would redirect them to the specific thing that they're actually afraid of, so which means that they are passionate about whatever they're in pursuit of, right? But yet the fuel and the basis of their pursuit, it's actually the fear of poverty, so which means that if you look at the entire equation, it's like, take the fear, be fearful, be afraid of something, really try to wake up every day and run away from specific things. But however, running away doesn't mean that you're eliminating them. Running away means so which means that the minute you start to, the minute you really get to a point where you're like, I really want to get rid of this thing, would mean that you would have to be advancing into a new fear. And I guess that's how the world is, but also never forget the basis of why you do what you do, or why you want to do what you want to do, because it's like every time when we actually come to conversations like this, there's always a point where someone is asked how did they start and stuff like that. And to me, that it's not that, maybe that's the that's the basis of, or the start of conversation, but to me that it's actually a reminder of what really got us started and why we should actually continue, or remember. Sometimes you get to a point where you forget why you started. When the going gets like really, really good, you tend to forget. But the truth of the matter is, never ever try to bypass the fear. Never ever try to eliminate the fear. Keep it, because it's something that you can use, to fan that fire. Always go back to the reason why you started. Always go back to the problem. You're gonna be solving different levels of the specific problem, but never ever forget the root problem that what you're actually trying to solve. Yeah.
Oh, this is really beautiful. Thank you for those words of wisdom. Don't try to bypass fear. Which is, Ronald has becoming, he came here prepared to give us like wisdom today. Like he came prepared. He came prepared. No, we're grateful. Guys, I'm really thankful that you took your time and accepted the invitation to come share with us what you do. Having this chat really means a lot to me and many other people that are watching and listening and are inspired by what you do. Keep on doing what you do. The world needs you to do what you are doing right now at this very point in time. Don't get tired doing what you do. What you do is very important. So I just want you guys, one line, last final words, because we're almost at the end of our time. Final words, one line. We're going to start with Doctor, then Ronald, then Deborah, and then Carol. Final words.
All right. Never give up in anything.
Thank you.
Simple.
Ronald.
Find what you love and let it kill you.
Ooh, okay. Deborah.
Dream, act practically, one change at a time.
Okay.
Okay, and for me is just start. Just start.
Just start.
Yeah.
Wow, this was beautiful. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. For those who are watching, we still have our in-person event. I think this is our first time we're actually doing this event not on June 16th. Well, we actually do have a June 16th segment, but it will be in person. So do look out on our platforms where you're watching right now, YouTube and LinkedIn. That's where we'll be broadcasting our June 16th event that will be happening in person in Soweto. So we look forward to seeing you there for that. And have a great night. And thank you so much for those of you that was with us from the morning until now. Ooh, I am so tired, but this was a very fruitful day. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.